Do-do-do.
I'm trying to see
And
if I
we
can.
should be live.
Super.
Hello all. Tug here. And Thrashpondo there.
What's going on, folks? Welcome to the party.
Now we are here with Night of the Living Dead. And Thrash, why don't you tell us what is your history with this movie?
So funny you should ask. When I was in high school, they first started showing this on TV because it had gone speaking of public domain, it had gone right into public domain.
Right.
There was a copyright issue, and I'll never forget. I was actually out. I had gone to see my girlfriend that night. I had gotten special permission on a school night to actually go over to my girlfriend's house, but I had to come home early. And when I did, both of my best friends were in my house waiting for me, saying, Bob, you got to watch this amazing new horror movie. And well, new to us.
Right.
And it was Night of the Living Dead. And I was just sort of like, I was blown away. I mean, granted, the production values were not stellar, but I loved the interaction. I loved the premise. I loved the dynamics. The whole thing just sort of came together. And considering it was done on this like shoestring budget, it actually gave me the crazy idea that I could actually one day go on to become a low budget movie maker. It was really that impactful for me.
That's cool, yeah. I saw this a long time ago in college. I hadn't watched it since until last week to prep for this. I was surprised how like raw and grisly it still feels, even though, you know, it's over 50 years old now. Yeah, and like I like zombie movies, but they're not, you know, I'm not well versed in them. I've seen Dawn of the Dead, but I haven't seen Day of the Dead. I haven't seen any of the remakes. You know, I've seen a few zombie movies here and there, but Night of the Living Dead is like it's the gold standard for me, right?
It's the alpha patient, if
It
you will.
is, yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from. So I think there's enough people here. I see Nicole is here. I see Zoper's here. Donovan. Lance Chafin is here. Awesome. Hello all.
Ants.
Get a lot of crossover from your channel.
We both like the same type of films.
Absolutely.
One thing I just want to say as well. See, my love of zombie lore actually predated me seeing this movie. When I was a kid, I read like zombie comic books, Twisted Tales and stuff like that, with
Wow.
Bernie Wrightson and stuff. So the love was already there. And I remember I bought my first copy on VHS back in 1985. I still own it. I have probably 7 or 8 copies, director's cuts, special editions, compilations. So in my den, which I call the bridge, I could go down right now and probably pull out just a half a dozen copies.
Right. And let's see. Hello to the Phantom Productions. How's it going?
Hello, Phantom.
Yep. Let's see. My first zombie movie. That's hard to say. What was my first zombie movie? I don't really remember. I think it wasn't Night of the Living Dead. Definitely wasn't Night of the Living Dead. I think it was probably The Serpent and the Rainbow. I saw that when I was really young, probably too young. But that's old school zombie. That's, you know, Bill Pullman being put in a grave and being given a drug to make him kind of turn into a zombie. Yeah. So I still kind of have in my head that old definition of zombie from like the white zombie days where it's like a voodoo curse. And, you know, they're not cannibals. They're just like slaves, basically. We'll talk about that later. That's one of the questions I'll bring up.
Yeah, I don't want to give the game away before we even started the opening credits.
I know. I should get started because we're just going to keep talking if I don't.
Well, I can talk all day.
Oh, let me turn it down a little bit.
Oh. I'm not getting any sound from the movie. Is everybody else getting sound from the movie?
Oh. Still not hearing anything?
I'm not. I don't know if others aren't.
So is anybody else hearing it? Okay, Nicole says she's hearing.
Let me just try something.
I'm not sure why you're not hearing. That's weird.
I may have my... Well, because I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, that's annoying.
Not really. I've seen the movie so many times I could probably lip sync it.
Okay, well, I don't know if there's anything I can do to fix it, so I'll look around while we start.
As am I. Again, the funny thing is I can hear you fine, so I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah, it's weird that you can
with the transfer. But...
Yeah. Maybe a Zoom thing.
No, I've had so many headaches with Zoom, so probably.
I know, yeah.
But we can just press on.
Okay.
Without it.
You be okay?
Oh yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to catch the Riff Tracks version.
I have not, actually.
They do a whole bit about no other time in history has someone come into the theater and say, "What did I miss?" And the person got nothing. As this opening sequence, it is just the epitome of, well, that just kind of happened.
It's not like Manos Hands of Fate level, but yeah, there's not a lot going on. But it's setting a tone, you know?
It does. It
They
really
make
does.
The day the time changes, the first day of summer.
What?
Well, it's 8 o'clock and it's still light.
Since he's not on screen for much
The
longer, I
extra
should point out
daylight
this
does us.
gentleman right here.
Now we've still got
Russell
a 3-hour
Striner.
drive
Yep.
back. We're not going to be home until
Was
after
at the
midnight.
time
Well, if it's
married
really about you, Johnny, you
to
wouldn't do it.
Judith Riley, the girl
Now,
who plays
Waterboard
Judy
Sunday
in this
on a
movie.
scene like this?
If you look at the credits, she's
You know,
actually listed
I
under two
figured we're
different
either gonna
names.
have
In
to
one
move
spot,
Mother
she's
out here or
Judith
move the grave
Ridley,
into Pittsburgh.
and then the other one,
You
it's
can't
Judith
have a trip like
Striner.
this.
Right.
They subsequently divorced, but
Is there any of that candy left?
No.
it's so funny.
Look at this thing.
My
You
mom
still
used to wear her
remember.
hair like
I
that,
don't.
by the way.
You know, I don't even remember what the
I think I've
The
seen
phone-
pictures of my mom
Johnny,
with
it
that
takes
kind of
you
haircut,
5
yeah.
minutes.
Yeah, 5
You know, when she
minutes
bring back
to
from
put
the
wreath
hospital,
in the
her-
grave
her
and
hair
6
was like
hours
that.
to drive back and forth.
Ratted up, as
Mother
it were.
wants to remember, so we trot 200 miles into the country and she stays at home.
And funnily enough, my dad used to look like that too.
Your dad had ratted up hair?
No, like him. He had the same glasses, the same look, yeah.
We're coming back on the air after
It's a very 60s look.
It is. By the time I came around, he had like a full...
By the way, in that bit was Carl Herdman, who goes on to play Mr. Cooper.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with the radio. Must have been the station.
Which row is it in?
No, I never wondered why they didn't just tell Mom that they went to Dad's grave.
Yeah, why
Well,
did
they actually, very, very touching Mom, yeah.
Well, there's no one around.
Well, it's late. You'd gotten up earlier.
Oh, look, I already lost an hour's sleep when the time changed.
I think you complained.
I'm also not seeing the comments in the comment section, so
There
feel
it
free
is.
to throw any out if they're...
Oh, yeah, of course. I'll keep my eye on it. Yeah, Nicole says if they didn't actually visit the grave, we wouldn't have the movie.
Well, you raise an incredibly valid point.
I wonder what happened to the one from
Well,
last
managed to get
year.
to full screen at least.
Each year we spend good money on these things. We come out here and the one from last year's gone.
Well, the flowers die, and the caretaker or somebody takes them away.
Yeah, a little spit and polish. You can clean this up. Sell it next year. Wonder how many times we bought the same one.
Consumerism.
I love how he's all praying for church. It's your father.
Hey, come on, Barb. Church was this morning, huh?
Stop
then, of course-
praying.
The lightning strikes when he says it.
Of course. There's just something about a guy putting on
Hey,
gloves.
I mean,
It's just a little
praying's
creepy.
for church, huh? Come on.
My dad, I
haven't
guess,
seen
when he
you
was
in
young, used to
church
wear
lately.
driving
Well-
gloves. It was a very chic thing to
Not
do.
much sense
Yeah,
in my
okay.
going to church. Do
I don't know if
remember
people
one
get
time when
blisters
we
from
were small,
steering
we were
wheels,
out
but-
here? It was from right over there.
Maybe they were
I
made
jumped
different
out
back
at you
then.
From behind the
It
tree,
must have
and
been,
Grandpa
must
got
have
all
been.
excited and he shook his fist at me and he said, "Boys, you'll be damned to hell."
Boy, you'd
Remember
be
that?
damned to
Right
hell.
over there. Well, you used to really be scared here.
Johnny,
You're still afraid.
And now he goes into the
Stop
weakest
it
Boris
now,
Karloff
I mean
impression in movie history.
Right.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
There it is.
I love the predatorial cruelty
You're
here.
ignorant.
Yeah.
They're coming.
He's been
for
glum
you,
this whole time, but
Barbara.
now that he can like torment his
Stop
sister,
it.
all of a
You're
sudden he's
acting
having
like
a blast.
child.
There's now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny.
This guy here actually went on to reprise this role in the remake, like some 20 plus years later.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He also plays a janitor or something in Beetlejuice, if I remember correctly.
Not the glasses.
I always wonder why he doesn't try to bite him, because you'd think that would have been the zombie's first
Right.
thought would be to actually take a chunk out of the guy.
He's more interested in Barbara.
And of course, we see the old cliche of the pursued falling at a very convenient moment. And that goes back to Frankenstein. Frankenstein, who was never very, very quick, always managed to catch people.
You're not being careful.
And conveniently, she's parked on a hill, so when she releases the emergency brake, it moves forward.
Sammy asks, was it Bill Moseley who played Johnny in the remake?
I've seen the remake. I haven't seen it religiously, so I'm not 100%. I will say there's a bell ringing in my head, but that could be the tinnitus.
It's interesting, you see this zombie like using a tool to get through.
Yes. Well, in this one they do. It's only later that they say zombies don't understand like tool making and whatnot, but in this film they do on a couple of occasions.
Completely mindless.
He also leaves and comes back.
Right.
And the zombies are usually single-minded. Once they go off on a tangent, you lose them.
And that dent they actually got from in between shots, like somebody hit the car on accident, and then Romero like wrote it into the script and had it in the tree.
I love it. I love it. We'll just make that germane to the plot.
Exactly. There's lots of thunder and lightning, but it never seems to rain.
Again, I'm guessing it's heat lightning.
Yeah.
Because bear in mind, this is, we're getting close to the longest day of the year, so this has to be, like, summer.
Right.
I love the fact that she runs into the gas pump they later use. You know, if you pay attention, they sort of map out the geography.
I hadn't
Well,
thought
it's
of
still
that.
light up.
But yeah, that is good.
This house was about to be demolished, which is why.
I was reading they actually had to clean it before they trashed
So it looked like a house that somebody lived in.
it. Right, and they started with the kitchen because George Romero figured the most important part of a set is where you can eat your lunches.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
Ah, speaking of my mother, she's here. Hello, Mom.
Hello, Mrs. Tug, or Tug's mom, whichever you'd prefer. I love how the house is actually creepy, even in its own right. It's like something out of Psycho.
Yeah, they did a really good job with the lighting. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it was completely natural lighting, too, but still, just the way it's shot is very creepy.
Now, of course, this film borrowed from many, many, many other films. The Last Man on Earth, Day of the Triffids, anything where you see people held up in a house trying to defend themselves.
Right.
The Seekers, even. Wait, is that the right one?
I don't even know what
The
that
old-
is.
It's a John Wayne Western, and there's a very pivotal scene where like the pioneers hold up in a house and are trying to defend themselves.
Oh, okay. Are you talking about the Searchers?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I am talking about the Searchers. The Seekers was a folk rock band.
Right.
For some reason, he hates clotheslines.
Yes, they're bad.
Because you're mine, I walk the line.
There's a lot of Dutch tilted angles that you don't see a lot in this time period.
I don't know why she thought it would work the second time, but it was like,
Nicole says she heard that George Romero's inspiration came from Carnival of Souls. I've heard him directly reference The Last Man on Earth, but I don't know about Carnival of Souls.
for flavor, I can certainly see Carnival of Souls. And of course, the main character, they're interchangeable, so I could certainly give you that. But actually, little secret, originally he and his folks were going to be making effectively a remake of Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Really?
Their idea was we'll take an old schlocky movie and just make one with better production value. That way we don't have to aim very high.
I do know that their original idea was a horror comedy.
See that? I can see that. But it was aliens come to Earth and reanimate the dead.
Right.
In fact, if you listen really, really closely in the radio reports, there's one reference where he says that there was the observing of UFOs wherever this was starting. The problem is halfway through not halfway. In the stages of the movie, they decided to scrap the alien invasion idea. They thought the zombie plot worked enough. I can also see how they would have intended this to be a comedy, by the way, at one point.
Well, there actually isn't much of a difference between horror and comedy. They both rely on gags.
There'll be a lot more of them as soon as they find out about us. Truck is out of gas. This pump out here is
Before he did this, Dwayne was a college professor,
Professor, right.
which is why he has such a resonant voice. He's used to giving lectures.
The character as written in the original screenplay was actually a lot more lower class and he spoke like lower class. And the actor Dwayne, I can't remember his last name. Jones? Is it Dwayne
Jones.
Yeah.
Dwayne Jones, yeah.
He insisted that no, he should make him more cultured, more,
Do you live
knowledgeable.
Here?
So George Romero rewrote it for him.
Now, they never adequately explain why this woman doesn't reanimate.
That's a good point.
I've actually given the matter an incredible amount of thought. I think what must have happened is she must have died just before the reanimation happened.
Oh, that's a good thought.
We've got to get out of here. We have to get where there's some other people.
I've given a shocking amount of consideration to this film.
So, you think that she lived in this house alone? Like that was...
Yeah, it's just maybe some poor old widow living in what's left of the family home. Drops dead of a heart attack. Next day, zombie apocalypse happens. They stumble in, find her, have a few nibbles, and then leave.
Right, okay.
Which is why she's partially eaten.
Drip, 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 drip.
They, too, used Bosco chocolate syrup for the blood effect.
Well, Hitchcock did it, so why not?
Well, yeah. In the days of black and white, a lot of people did it.
And later, when you see them gnawing on bones and stuff, they're eating ham covered in chocolate syrup, which was apparently really disgusting.
And they get the bones from the local butcher shop.
Right.
What's happening?
Oh, you know what's happening.
What's happening?
No, Harold, I have to agree with Nicole that he is the best character. Comparing him to Cooper is just... that's not fair.
Two of them.
Yeah, see, here they're using rocks again to put up the headlights because apparently it's not just fire they fear, light while
just
static.
don't like light, right.
Light.
I can take care of those two.
I
I know you're afraid, but we
I don't know.
Which again is a holdover from the whole Last Man on Earth. Or I should just refer to it as I Am Legend because Last Man on Earth is just an adaptation
Right.
of the Masterson classic. But there's a lot of points of similarity between the zombies and the vampires in that novella. Well, if you remember in Last Man on Earth or I Am Legend, there were two types. There were, if you got the virus when you were alive, you became a vampire. If you died and got it, you became a reanimated dead person. And there's like a hierarchy between the two.
Right, yeah, I do remember that.
Something they omit in all the others. Well, it is mentioned in Last Man on Earth.
Yeah, I was about to say, Last Man on Earth, it gives it some lip service, but it doesn't really play into it the way the book does.
And if I remember correctly, this is actually the director. I have to read my notes in bad light. John Russo. I just want to say John Russell for some reason. Whether can't talk.
Yeah, he was one of the writers.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. Romero, of course, is the director.
Right. It's like, that doesn't look like George Romero.
Romero. While a lot of them do play zombies at one point or another, Romero didn't. And I always wondered why. Camera shy?
Yeah, maybe he just doesn't like being on the other side of the camera. Nicole says she does like the makeup in this film. It's a lot simpler than today's zombies and makes sense for embalmed bodies. Well, the bodies aren't actually coming from an embalmed state. Like, they're not actually coming up out of the graves. They even mention that at some point later. That these are just people, I don't know, who died. I don't know exactly.
A lot of them were bit by other zombies. I mean,
Right.
because bear in mind, you're not going to stand around and let yourself be eaten, but you're going to get bit here and there, and once you get bit, you become infected.
Sammy says there's actually a Carnival of Souls reference in Land of the Dead, where zombies
Really?
rise up from the water.
Huh.
The Carnival of Souls almost made it onto my public domain theater this month. I might do it next year.
It's a great film.
Oh, it is, definitely.
Has a very Twilight Zone-esque feel to it.
Don't look at
If you watch carefully, his eyes move for just a second.
Right.
Like he's looking to see to the camera to see if they're still filming.
Ah, Lisa. Lisa's here. Hi, Lisa.
I'm not Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Well, since we have a moment, I'm going to bring up a couple of questions that my friend Baked Bean has asked.
Mr. Bean.
So, do you consider this or the 1931 White Zombie the start of the zombie genre, and why?
Actually, I have a third choice, which I'm going to read into the record.
Go for it.
Mine is actually Things to Come by H.G. Wells.
Ooh, that's a good point.
There's because they're not the traditional black magic zombies. What happens is during the Second World War, they use biological warfare, which causes the soldier sickness. And if you've ever seen Things to Come, the way it works is you die and then you almost instantly reanimate and walk around in a comatose state spreading the infection. And people go, ooh, ooh, zombies, or undead, whatever you want to call them, and run away. It's never established whether or not they try to bite people because they kill the undead too quickly.
Right.
But when you watch that segment of the epic, you say, this is where Romero got the idea. I do love White Zombie, don't get me wrong. White Zombie is a great movie, but that's your sort of black magic, enslaved, lost soul type zombie, which is different than the undead.
Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. I mean, you gotta love Bela Lugosi as a guy named Murder, but the idea of zombies before Night of the Living Dead is completely different from what we think of as zombies now. So you gotta say, if you're thinking about zombie movies today, you've got to go with Night of the Living Dead. But I do love White Zombie. It's just those are the black magic zombies, like you were saying, like the Serpent in the Rainbow from the 80s, that kind
And
of
you can control them. You use them as slaves.
slaves and mind controlled, yeah.
Yeah, you can control the undead here or in things to come.
And the irony is that in White Zombie they're called zombies. In this movie they're not. The word zombie doesn't appear.
They're those things. They're ghouls, monsters.
Right.
In fact, I believe they didn't start calling them zombies until the 80s when this film had a sort of renaissance.
Right.
And because people like me who saw zombies in the comic book says, oh yeah, they're zombies.
Semi says the Lucio Fulci zombie movies are a nice mix of both voodoo and Romero. I can see that. Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah.
I love those.
Nothing wrong with a good Fulci movie.
I mean, you have a zombie fighting a shark. How can you not have fun with this? Yeah, Fulci's great.
There's that one Fulci movie where a guy's in like an abandoned movie theater on a motorcycle. I can't remember the name of it. It's so good.
Definite Hitchcock scene here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how can you leave out the birds? Birds was also an influence to this.
True. That's a good point. The hold up in a house.
Well, you're attacked by birds, which is actually loosely based on a true story.
Really?
Yeah, there was this weird algae that was making birds sick. I want to say in Wales or somewhere, and it caused them. They didn't mass and attack humans, but that did really weird. And there were some cases where birds bit people and whatnot, and it became this like weird. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Just teasing.
I know. I'm also a huge Hitchcock fan, as you probably deduced by this stage of the ballgame.
I am too, but I'll be honest with you, The Birds is not my favorite.
Well, it's not one of his best.
No, it's not.
But
it's not bad, but it's just not. It's not what I think of when I think of Hitchcock.
I remember, this is what a fan I am. When I was in high school, I took a girl on a date to see Rear Window.
Nice.
She was like, "Can't we see Revenge of the Nerds or something fun?" And I'm like, "Oh no, we gotta see this. I can see Hitchcock on the big screen. We're going." Didn't work out.
Yeah, well. If she wasn't interested in seeing Rear Window, that's on her.
Exactly. Best to know now.
Exactly. I have trouble with my wife getting her to watch anything in black and white. Like, she would see like an old Hitchcock movie if it was in color, like Rear Window. I even made her watch Rope once, She just has a thing against black and white. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, this room looks pretty secure.
Although my wife's favorite movie is Pride of the Yankees.
We can run
So she will
okay.
watch some vintage film.
Won't be long for those things be back pounding their way in here. They're afraid now.
Sammy, I was thinking that, but I wasn't going to say it.
They're afraid of fire. I found that out.
Now that window immediately behind him,
Yeah?
he never boards that up.
I know, it bugged me last week when I was watching it. Like, why is that window still not boarded up?
Maybe it was shuttered from the outside.
Right.
Let's go with that. I don't know.
Now, in
It's
a
not
minute,
nice.
Barbara's going to give the speech where she talks about what happened, and that is, according to her, 100%
I
ad-libbed,
found that truck I have out there.
which is impressive. It's a good speech.
It's great, and also she thinks to not say it with 100%
I jumped
accuracy
in to
Yeah.
listen to it.
because someone in shock wouldn't. She
The big gasoline
paraphrases.
truck came screaming right
That's
across
one thing
the
I think
road.
this movie does really well, is show, like, her in shock and how she reacts.
Chasing after it,
It seems real. It seems raw.
grabbing and holding on.
Apparently, Hardman and Eastman, I believe the lady's name was, who played Helen,
I could just
they
see
had a
that the
production
truck was
company where they
moving
made
in a funny
like
way.
local
Those
commercials
things
for
peppered up to it.
local businesses or industrial training films for like
Right across
companies
the
and
road.
whatnot. And Judith O'Day, Barbara, had done some work for them, and that was how she was
Went right
found for
through
this
the
part.
guardrail.
Oh, okay.
I guess the driver must have cut off the road.
Zober brings up The World, the Flesh, and the Devil, that Harry Belafonte apocalypse movie, saying that was more provocative when approaching interracial romance. But this movie, there isn't really any interracial romance. And also, as has been widely reported over and over again,
Truck was going to explode.
his race wasn't really a factor. He was just the best actor for the part. Granted, like, it brings up all kinds of socio-political readings into the movie, but that's not what George Romero initially intended.
This thing is just back
When you
in the
see,
window.
there's an amazing doc where it talks about horror films in
There
the
was
black
anyone there
community.
who could help me.
They absolutely adored this film in the black
That's when I
community
noticed it.
because he is such a take charge
place
kind
had
of
been
guy.
encircled.
And the way he puts Mr. Cooper, who is the epitome of the man,
Yeah,
in
definitely.
his place. Like when he says, "When you're up here, you take orders from me."
Find
I
out
guess
everyone's
audiences got up and
dreams.
cheered. But you're right. There's no sexual tension between Ben and
Not at all.
any of the female cast members.
50 or 60
With
of those things
Barbara, it's
just
more of a
standing there,
protective thing.
staring at me. I started to drive.
Oh, and they
Just
mentioned
plowed
here that
right through
the
them.
pickup truck was not his. He jumped
They
in to
didn't
listen to the
move,
radio,
they
which
didn't
gives
run.
credence to your point that
Just stood
he
there
wasn't
staring
working
at me.
class. He
Right.
was some upper class, some person who owned the truck probably had already been devoured.
That's what I thought you said too. So
Okay.
maybe
Well,
he was
if I
answering
didn't,
somebody's question.
In the cemetery.
he might just be saying he knows what I'm talking about. But
Right.
either way, thank you. I tend to like get wires crossed and misword things periodically. I referred to Black Sunday the other day as Black Sabbath, and I'm like, bad Bob, bad. Two completely different movies, both great, but two completely different movies.
And he said,
Yes, she's giving the
"Can I have some candy?"
her one big speech.
Barbara. We didn't have any.
One thing you have to give Barbara, by the way, even though she's in shock, she does more to aid the survival of the group
Souvenir.
than either of the other two female characters. You ever notice that?
That is true. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
I mean, Judy is,
And
let's
he
face
said,
facts, is a liability.
"Oh, it's late."
And
Why did
Mrs.
you
Cooper's
start
always
so
saying,
late?
"Can I help? Can I help? Can I help?" But then she
And
never
I
actually
said,
does anything to help.
Johnny,
Right.
She's like my aunt. She always offers help, but yes, you can help. You can do this. Oh well. I thought you'd say the offer is more than enough.
And I said,
Thanks,
"I'm not
Auntie.
afraid, Johnny."
Lance says that documentary is
This
on
man
Shudder,
started walking up
which
the
I don't
road.
have Shudder, but that's good to know.
He came slowly.
I forget where I saw it
Johnny
because I don't
kept
have
teasing
Shudder
me
either.
and saying,
But I did see it.
"He's
And it's
coming to
amazing.
Get you, Barbara."
I think a couple
And I
Halloweens
laughed
ago,
at
I
him
think
and
the
said,
Sci-Fi
"Johnny,
Channel
stop
aired it. I think that's where I saw
And
it.
then
But
Johnny
regardless,
ran
I have in
away.
fact seen it,
And I went
and
up
it's
to this
amazing.
man,
It does. It
and I was
covers
going to
from the origins of
apologize.
cinema to recent years.
Why don't you just keep calm?
And I looked up and I said, "Goody." And
It's
he
funny. Speaking
grabbed
of
me.
Judith,
He grabbed me.
she was actually not
And he
intended to
whipped
be
me.
one of the cast. She was
He
hired
held me and
as
ripped
their,
my
of all things,
clothes.
script
I
consultant.
think you should just calm down.
Okay.
But George Romero thought she was hot, so he had to put her in front of the camera.
Johnny,
So
help
literally
me.
all her
Oh,
dialogue
help me.
is sort of added on the fly,
Right.
which is why she always has that sort of, like, because her lines were literally just jackhammered into the plot.
He fought this man. And
Well, it's hard to imagine how this first part would work without her, because it would just be Ben, because he hasn't found Cooper yet.
and Johnny didn't come.
With his, odds are you wouldn't go swimming by yourself,
Right.
We had to go out and get him.
unless you're a weirdo.
We have to go out and get Johnny.
Don't there
He's
each.
out there. Please, don't you hear me? We've got to go out and get him. Please.
Maybe I've ignored her. She'll shut up.
To go get Johnny.
That never works.
Nope. It's a bad idea.
Don't you know what's going on out there? This is no Sunday school picnic.
Don't you understand? My brother is alone.
Your brother is dead.
No, my brother is not dead. Oh.
And
There it
I
is.
love the eye cross. That makes the whole scene. Now going back to being constructive.
Okay, so back to Baked Beans questions.
Oh, yes, please.
Do you prefer your zombies fast or slow?
Definitely 100% slow. Fast zombies irritate me. One, they're decomposing. How could they actually be faster in death than they are in life?
Right.
Two, I think the slow approach is far more macabre and creepy than things that just come at you like velociraptors. So I'm definitely a slow zombie school.
I pretty much agree. I mean, there are some times when the fast zombies can be used pretty well in like a visceral sense, like in the Korean zombie movies like Train to Busan and stuff, but for the most part, it's not the same thing at all.
I mean, it was kind of funny in Return of the Living Dead because you expect them to move slowly and they're like, ah! You know, I thought that was fun because Return of the Living Dead is, in fact, a horror comedy.
Right.
And so it kind of worked.
Right.
I wonder if that's the same window he still hasn't boarded up. That's it. He didn't board it up because he needs a way to look out. He needs an avenue of visibility. I don't know.
You're just coming up with a post hoc explanation.
Or maybe, I don't know.
But I don't know. I like the idea of the slow zombies because it's like that creeping sense of dread of death coming. You know, it's just relentless. Whereas
Exactly.
fast zombies is just action. It's not the same thing.
Exactly. And I hated, elephant in the room, I hated World War Z, where they're like army ants.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they make like the towers and stuff like that. I'm like, come on! Zombies do not have a hive mentality.
I can appreciate that. I didn't hate World War Z, but I can appreciate that perspective. I didn't love it either, so...
Yeah, I tried to love it. I tried to see it as a reimagining, and I'm like, nah. But I'm a snob.
It also bugs me because Baked Bean brings up Michael Myers as an example of slow pace.
At you, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't work as well, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've just received word that the president has called a meeting of his cabinet.
Although I do love that shtick where someone's running away from a vampire, and they turn around to see if the vampire is still chasing them, and then when they look in front of them, the vampire is standing right in front of them.
Right, yeah.
I do kind of like that shtick.
Yeah, sorry, Zoper, there is buffering. I don't know. I'm having some issues with OBS, and I'm not sure how to stop it.
Yeah, I'm getting a little buffering too. But
I don't know what's going on.
I more apologize that I haven't found out a way of actually looking at the comment section. So if I'm ignoring anybody, please forgive me. You know, if any questions directed directly towards me. I'm gonna have to watch this in the rewatch, and then do a looking back.
Right.
Yeah, I love how they do the zoom in on the door. Like, for those of you who don't know, this is going to become germane to the plot in about 30 seconds. Dun, dun, dun.
You're listening. Have joined their facilities in an emergency network to bring you this news as it develops. We urge you to
Did I miss
stay
anything?
tuned to radio and TV and to stay indoors at all
Oh,
costs.
it was all a dream.
Late reports reaching this newsroom tell of frightened people seeking refuge in churches.
Must have been a hell of a punch to the jaw to knock her out for a good 10 minutes.
Well, she was probably exhausted from all the running and stuff like that too. It's more, not so much, unconscious as just deep sleep.
Just out.
But yeah, he did crack her. He really did.
That sound effect is intense. It's really like the deep just... Yeah.
Yeah, I love their Foley artists. Like when he's fighting Cooper, and I don't want to give the game away, but it's like something out of a Japanese like Kurosawa film.
Right.
Back when you could smoke in movies.
Nowadays, that'll get you an R rating. Speaking of which, when this movie came out, the MPAA hadn't actually started its rating system yet. It was only like 2 months away, I think. And so they released this movie as a matinee on like a Saturday, which they did for a lot of horror movies. And people were very upset by that because like they were taking their kids to these movies. So you have like 8-year-olds watching this movie and freaking out. So there was a big moral uproar, but it didn't stop the movie from being ridiculously successful. It made something like 250 times its budget back. Not that George Romero saw any of that money. All it went to the distributors because George Romero didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, he didn't file the proper paperwork. Well, that's why it went right into public domain.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, when you make a film nowadays, copyright is automatic. Back then it wasn't. You had to file proper paperwork, and he didn't. Nope, it's not your film, but it's mine.
Harold Alexander says that must be Charlton Heston's cabinet or closet.
I found a
Out of
gun
my
and some
cold
bullets out there.
dead grasp.
Oh, and these.
Then they do that in Planet of the Apes, where when they bring Heston back in the ape makeup, he's like, inside that cask is the worst weapon the humans ever invented.
Oh, right.
He opens it up,
This
it's
place
a
is boarded
handgun.
up.
I get it.
We gotta be all right here for a while.
Another story of grandparents taking kids to see movies and going,
Food and
whoops.
radio.
Now, this one was called Not a Living Dead. It should have tipped you off.
Yeah, really.
There's someone.
But when they went to see a boy and his dog.
Oh, yeah, because that title's so innocuous. It seems like it's a friendly movie.
And I guess that happened like all the time. And the
that's
opening
pretty
sequence, for those of you who've seen it, you'll know. Once you see the opening sequence, it's a little late to get the grandkids out at that.
Right.
Oops, a daisy. And you know the clerks in the movie theater were like, yeah. Because when you're bringing an 8-year-old, it's like you know what they're doing. You could have warned them. This ought to be funny.
Everything is all right for now. I'll be back to reinforce the windows and doors later. But you'll be all right for now, okay? Okay.
It's so funny. The one time he leaves her alone is when the action happens.
Exactly. So you'll be fine, you'll be safe, nothing's going to happen, and that's when things happen.
And then 30 seconds after he's gone, it's the people under the stairs. Literally.
Now, there's a shot here where you can see her face and it doesn't look all mangled. Continuity error. That's all.
There's a few, as we discussed. Well, there's one scene where in the truck where all of a sudden it's like noon.
Oh, yeah.
They go for night to day for day. Oh, yeah, I just got the...
Donovan says A Boy and His Dog is one of his favorite movies.
I have seen that movie many times. I recently, right after he died, the sort of mega adaptation of the book came out.
Right.
I have a copy of that.
Cool.
And eating their victims prompted authorities to examine.
Although I gotta tell you, I finally, after all these years, I finally read the teleplay for his supposed very watered down TV adaptation pilot, and it wasn't particularly good.
Just received moments ago from Cumberland, Maryland. Civil defense authorities have told newsmen that murder victims show evidence of
Yes,
having
it's a radio.
been
It's very
partially
nice.
devoured by their murderers.
Oh, man.
Medical examination of victims' bodies shows conclusively that the killers are eating the flesh.
Eating
of
the
people they
flesh.
killed. And so this incredible story becomes more ghastly with each report. It's
Yeah, before this,
difficult to
zombies
imagine
never
such a thing actually
ate
happening.
people. That was
These
new
reports
to
we
this.
have been receiving and passing on to you. Reports which
As I said, I
have been
believe you had
verified
seen
as
it in
completely as is
comics,
possible
but
in
it's the
this
first
future
time you see it on the
situation.
big screen.
Right.
It is happening, and it would appear that no one is safe from this wave of mass murder.
And now we
And
meet Cooper.
This will flesh out the cast, pun intended.
We're from town.
A radio.
What is he holding? It's like a piece of wood.
It's some type of tool. I think it's a bent. Oh, what do you call that thing? It pulls nails out.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
like
know
a
what you're
crowbar
talking about,
designed for ripping out nails.
You mean you didn't hear the racket we were making up
I
there?
think.
How are we supposed to know what was going on? Could have been those things for all we knew.
That girl.
I mean, I thought it was a machete, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Those things don't make any noise.
And I love the fact that, okay, he's fighting in a zombie apocalypse, and he doesn't even bother to take his tie off.
We thought we could hear some
Right.
things,
You
but
know,
all we knew that could have meant
business
those things were in
casual
the house
to
after.
the
And
end.
you wouldn't come up and help.
Well, if there were more, the racket sounded like the place was being ripped apart. How were we supposed to know what was going on?
Now, wait a minute.
And then, you ever notice how this whole movie starts to play out like the perfect codependent family?
That's actually a good way of looking at it.
Right, now you
You know,
tell me.
yeah. Judy is the mascot. Barbara is the lost child. Cooper's the scapegoat. Ben is the epitome of the high-functioning alcoholic.
We came up. Okay, we're here. Now I suggest we all go back downstairs before any of those things find out we're in
And here we see the greatest example of irony in American cinema.
I'll be the 3 spots upstairs. They won't be hard to fix.
More about
You're
that later.
insane. The cellar's the safest place.
I'm telling you, they can't get in here.
And I'm telling you, those things turned over our car. We were damn lucky.
I love how
to
the
get
fact
away
that
at all.
as soon as
Now,
they
you tell me
get
those-
more than
those
2
things
people in
can't
the
get through
cast,
this lousy
they
pile of
automatically
wood?
start fighting. They form interest groups.
Yeah, and the next like 20 minutes of the movie is pretty much all yelling.
Well, I still think we're better off up here.
We could straighten
And this poor
everything out,
schlub,
Mr.
he spends the entire movie trying to make peace with everyone.
They're just not interested.
We can take all that stuff downstairs with us. Man, you're really crazy. You know that? You got 1,000,000 windows up here. All these windows.
Now the funny thing is, this guy strikes me as someone who's, if he's not in sales, has been in sales. And one of the first things they teach you is you never, ever, ever actually say things like, "You must be crazy," or "Are you stupid?" You'd be an idiot not to do what I want you to do.
Only there's not going to be 5 or
You
even
put
10.
people
There's
on
gonna be 20,
the defense.
30, maybe 100 of those things. And
Well,
it's
just
true
because
that
he's in
they're
sales doesn't mean he's
really
good at it.
Well,
They'll probably get us wherever we are.
He's obviously not good at convincing anybody.
The cellar.
his
The
wife
cellar
included.
is
I can't wait till they
one
bring
door,
her on
right?
screen.
Oh, yeah.
One door, that's all we have to
Of
do.
course not, Harry.
Windows are blocks and boards on the inside. But up here, all these windows.
That's what's
we never
important.
know where
You'd be
we're
right,
gonna
everyone
get
would be
next.
wrong.
You got a point, Mr. Cooper. But down in the cellar, there's no place
Sammy
to
says
run.
what he likes about this scene is they pronounce windows as windows.
There'd be no back exit.
That's a Pennsylvania thing.
Yeah.
My mom pronounces them windows, and my wife teases me because that's where when I say window, I usually say window. It's because my mom, when she taught me to talk.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's a super Pittsburgh area. My mom used to live in Pittsburgh.
I think he's right.
My granddad was a mill worker.
You know how many
Oh,
cellar
okay.
there?
We lived outside Bethlehem for a while, which is a lot closer to Philly.
You two can
Oh,
do whatever you
but
want.
still, the
I'm
whole
going back down to the cellar,
world.
And you
Yeah.
better decide, 'cause I'm gonna board up
I think
that
they said
door,
windows there,
and
too.
I'm not gonna unlock it again, no matter what happens.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Cooper.
No, I'm not gonna wait. I've made my decision, now you make yours.
Now, wait a minute.
Of course, now I live in
Think about
Cape
this.
Cod, and
We can make
people
it
say,
to the
"You don't
cellar
talk like you're from here," and I'm like, "Thank you."
You decide to stay down there, we'll need some things from up here. So let's at least consider this a
Everyone
while.
expects us to talk like we're from Maine. Can't get there from here.
You boxed yourself in the
Yeah.
cellar and those
Okay,
things,
yeah.
At least up here you have a fighting chance.
Yeah, if you look closer, you can see the boom mic shadow on the wall behind him.
Yeah, it looks like about 8 or 10.
Oh, yeah, that is the boom mic. It's not just, yeah.
There are a lot out back, too.
Ah!
One thing I have to know about Tommy, he always seems with everyone. He might have actually pulled this off.
Yeah.
Love the sideburns. Never let your opponent grab your firearm.
Yeah, really.
Now he learns here that if you shoot them in the chest, it has no effect.
It's all right.
And then multiple times throughout the movie, he keeps shooting them in the chest. What did you think it was going to suddenly work?
Yeah, I don't know. He's just trying to slow him down, maybe? Because he does, like, shoot him in the head and figures it out, but then he just doesn't use that knowledge. See? That worked.
Exactly. So I was like, note to self.
Maybe he's
then
just a
later on-
terrible shot.
Or doesn't learn from his mistakes.
I did have to censor this part out just for you two.
I was wondering if you were going to have to, yes.
I took care of it earlier.
And of course, the sound brings more. That's Mrs. Cooper, by the way.
Oh,
makeup.
right. I did
And
read
she
that.
actually does eat a bug.
Nice. That's commitment to a part.
You gotta fix these boards.
You're crazy.
She must have seen Papillon
Those
before
things
she did
are
this
gonna be in
movie.
every window and door in this place. We've got to get down into the cellar.
Okay, let's see. Baked Bean asks, excluding this movie, what is your favorite zombie movie?
I'm taking the girl with
I'm gonna have to go silly for that one. Return of the Living Dead.
Okay.
Because if I stay up here,
Does Reanimator count?
everything up here, the radio and the
Yes!
So I'm going to say Reanimator. Also
Yes,
silly.
going down the cellar.
Yeah. But it's got Barbara Crampton.
Of course. Yeah.
We've got to have food down there. We've got a right.
It's your house.
We've got a right.
I always love Return of the Living Dead because it was punk rockers versus zombies. How could I not have fun with that? That was my generation, you know.
She can't possibly. I couldn't bring her up here. She can't possibly take all the racket, those things smashing through the windows.
Well, you're her father. If you're
She can't take all that racket, but
dying,
she can
that's
take
your
you?
business. However, I am not stupid enough to follow you.
I know, really.
It's tough for the kid that her old man is so stupid.
It's a pity her old man's such an idiot.
I'm boss down there. I'm boss up here.
I'm boss here. There's the line.
Bastards.
You bastards.
You know, I want to open this door again. I mean,
Yeah, what is that tool he has?
I don't know. It's
Let him go, man. His mind is made up. Just let him go.
yeah. Please, just let him go.
Judy, come on up here, honey.
Let's see. Zoper says "Zombie" by Fulcio. Harold
Great one.
says "Dawn of the Dead."
Love it.
Yep.
I love either version of Dawn of the Dead. I must say I love the original better, but I thought the remake had a lot of heart to it.
I've heard the remake is actually really good. I haven't seen the remake. I've only seen the original.
It's very good. The remake of No Living Dead, not so much. They tried to play
Right.
a little with the character development. It's not a bad movie, but I didn't like it nearly as much as this one.
We're working together.
Hey. Hey, kid.
Hey, kid.
Oh, and he's gonna spike the ball here.
Wrong, you know.
He's wrong, you know. I'm not boxing myself up down there. It's like, who are you trying to convince, you or me? You know?
She hasn't really said a thing yet.
Exactly. She's,
well,
yeah, whatever. I just got called up here.
What about Tom and Judy?
They want to stay up there and let him.
I love how she makes the, you know,
Whatever.
impromptu, hospital bunk out of the
Right.
sawhorses.
A man and a girl.
Oh yeah, I never noticed that before.
yeah, but I didn't know who they were, and I wasn't about to.
In my brain, it was just perfectly natural for there to be like a stretcher there. I don't know.
Yet he's not having enough trouble, and she's gonna let him know what an idiot he is. Now, these are the two. They actually owned that production company, Hardman and Eastman, but they actually later on got married and had 2 kids. This young girl is his daughter from, I guess, his first marriage. But these two were actually married for 44 years until his death in 07.
Wow.
Let them. Too many ways those monsters can get in up there.
And speaking of spiking the ball, let them come crawling back to me. See what I do.
See, when they come begging me to let them in down here. There's mass murder everywhere, and people are supposed to look for a safe place to hide.
Take the boards off that door.
We are staying down here, Helen.
Harry, that radio is at least some kind of communication. If the
That might
authorities
work a
know
little
what's
better.
happening, well, they'll send people for us to tell us what to do. How are we going to know what's going on if we lock ourselves in the sun?
Zoper asks, why not just shoot the zombies? I don't think they explicitly state it, but they do seem to be drawn to the sound. Which I know is like it's like a zombie trope these days, but it still feels like it's true in this one.
We may not enjoy living together, but dying together isn't going to solve anything. Those people aren't our enemy.
Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Okay. Well, for a while the sound went out, but it's back now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they're just a few transference purposes. Oh, what was Zuper's question, by the way? I missed it.
Why not just shoot the zombies?
Will you do it?
Oh, well, he does.
Look,
Yeah.
So, good question.
do this.
Okay, open up.
Quiet. I'm trying to like fix my internet issues here.
Oh no, quite all right. I just went to a micro screen, so I'm trying to figure out how to go back to. Oh, your bandwidth is low.
I'm working on it.
No, I know where's led.
Why don't you go upstairs?
I'm just trying to expand back out.
Okay. Hopefully that helps. Nope, seems to have made it worse.
Live and learn. Live and learn. Oh, that's a little better. Although I wish I could see the comments.
Yeah, the best you could do is open it up in YouTube, but then you gotta mute it. Well, actually, no, you don't. Well, you'd hear me from like 5 seconds ago, so it'd be very confusing.
I was getting a lag time for a while too. But now I have it. I see me on one side and the show on the other, so I'm just going to press on with that. It's close enough.
Okay.
If I keep hitting buttons, eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to bounce out altogether, and I'll try to get back in, and it'll be a righteous mess. So let's not tamper with success.
Just don't mess with it. If it's working, it's working.
Exactly.
It's kind of where I am now.
I love how she says, you don't have to be afraid of me. I'm Mrs. Cooper. Well, I just met Mr. Cooper, so the fact that you're Mrs. Cooper doesn't do a lot to make you less scary.
I also like that she's just sitting there playing with the lace.
Yeah, I know. Like counting the holes in it. 1 hole, 2 hole. And all of a sudden she's afraid of fire, too.
Fire bad.
It's Stockholm Syndrome. She's identifying with the zombies, and now she's afraid of fire.
There you go.
I work with what I got.
Okay.
This place is ridiculous.
I'll go back to my doily.
Look at this. There's a million weak spots up
Yeah, see this? So I'm married to that, so why does that not make me scary?
Her brother was killed.
And where's she getting all these cigarettes? Did she have like 3 packs in her purse or something? Because he's chain smoking the entire movie, and he ran out 20 minutes ago. So
She must have had a carton.
I can't see a damn
yeah.
thing.
Or maybe the old lady had a whole bunch in her basement.
I never thought of that.
I've known some old ladies who'd have cartons of cigarettes, like downstairs.
Why don't you do something to help somebody?
My grandmother used to smoke, but only when she drank, so she did about 2 packs a day.
Drag a couple of those chairs together.
There's a socket over here.
Now, this, of course, is the first on-screen depiction of a zombie survival guide.
Ah, good point.
What Dr. Grimes, in a few minutes, starts reading out becomes the template for pretty much all other.
And that includes leaving the girl alone.
Oh, here's the
Take orders
take
from
orders
me.
from me.
Yeah.
I just love how he says it, like with such emphasis.
He's just fed up with this.
Are not the results of mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. What do they think we're
Sammy said it's the 60s. Even children have cigarettes.
Wave of murder which is sweeping the eastern
I had those candy cigarettes when I was growing up. But, they were just sugar.
who feeds upon the flesh.
It tasted like chalk, too.
Yeah, they didn't taste very good, but we loved them anyway because they were cigarettes.
Yeah, you look like you were smoking.
And almost incoherent. Officials and newsmen.
And this guy's surprisingly calm throughout, because I don't know if this TV station is in a concrete bunker or something, but they're just as vulnerable there as they are anywhere else.
Everybody's calm in the background. Nobody seems to care. Whatever, the world's ending. We'll just be professionals about it.
Well, I read somewhere that George Romero got this trope, shtick, whatever you want to call it, from the broadcast from the Kennedy assassination.
Oh.
The world was falling apart around you, but the commentators were very professionally giving you every scrap of news.
Yeah, nowadays, it's the exact opposite. There could be nothing happening, but it's the end of the world.
It's like the Weather Channel. Every storm is the storm of the century.
Right.
And sometimes they're right, but...
When this emergency first began,
my granddaughter went through a phase where she loved the Weather Channel. We'd have to leave it on unless something cool on Nickelodeon was on.
My father-in-law has the Weather Channel on all the time. So much so that, certain parts of the Weather Channel are burned into his TV screen. So you change the channel, you can still kind of see where the ticker's supposed to be.
Why do retirees love the Weather Channel so much? I can't figure it out.
Don't know.
This list of rescue stations. This list will be repeated throughout.
Oh, look, in Peoria, it's snowing. How about that?
Okay.
Make your way to that location as soon as possible.
They do that on American Dad. When the son becomes old, he's fascinated by the Weather Channel.
This afternoon by the president. Since convening this conference of the presidential cabinet, the FBI, the Joint Chiefs of Staff,
I love that they actually mentioned McKeesport. East McKeesport is actually the home of legendary NFL star Joe Namath.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
So far, all the betting on the answer to that
My mom
question
told me she
centers
lived
on
not far from there. She says it's a real, well, I won't say the word she used, but it was a
Trying
kind
to
of
stay
hole.
PG on this channel. Yeah, I got it.
That's the space vehicle which orbited Venus and then was purposely destroyed by NASA when scientists...
Yeah, here's the little hint that maybe aliens are still involved.
With it. Could that radiation be
Which is also like a recurring zombie trope. Walking Dead was always supposed to be aliens were the origin, but he never actually explicitly stated it.
Really?
Really, yeah.
I thought it was a bioweapon that had gone awry.
Well, in the TV show, that's kind of where they hint at, but in the actual comic, Kirkman wanted it to be aliens. He wanted to have that as a big reveal towards the end, but he just never did it.
I love how Negan in the comic book is based on Henry Rollins. All people.
Well, on that note, Baked Bean did ask us if we liked The Walking Dead or Z Nation.
I saw Z Nation. I did like it, but it didn't grip me as much. I'm definitely Team Walking Dead. Although I did turn out after Total War. Couldn't do it anymore.
I got pretty far in Walking Dead. I think I stopped once Carl got infected. There was a break, and then I just never picked it back up again. It wasn't because Carl got infected. That was the moment that I had other things to do than to keep watching Walking Dead.
One thing on a much more personal matter. If any of you watch my channel, you know I'm always talking about the Colonel, the emotionally off-balance retired Army officer my mother was engaged to.
Right.
Negan was a clone of the Colonel. the only difference between the two of them is the Colonel had a little more gray in his hair.
That's terrifying.
But Jeffrey Dean Morgan was the Colonel incarnate. They even had some of the same voice patterns. Now get over here, you know, they even sounded like it. It was like, mother.
I did like Jeffrey Dean Morgan in the role. He was really good.
Oh, he was amazing.
Yeah.
He did a very competent job, let me tell you.
You know this area. You from around here?
I never actually saw Z Nation, so I have no opinion on it. Isn't that like an asylum production?
Judy had a radio, and we heard the first.
I used to watch it on the Sci-Fi channel. I'm not sure who produced it. I did watch it. I found it tended to be on a little bit on the cliche side. And I started watching it, and I got away from it, and just never got back in. I did like it, but I was definitely Team Walking Dead.
Well, if nothing else, The Walking Dead has the amazing Tom Savini makeup effects and stuff. Like, those are some of the best zombies you will ever see.
And they're based on the Bernie Wrightson depictions of zombies from those old comic books. And of course, I've never found anyone who would confirm this for me, or even could confirm this. But this dude here, Dr. Grimes, of course, in The Walking Dead, the main character in the first few seasons is Sheriff's Deputy Grimes.
That can't be a coincidence.
That has to be an homage, a pat on the back, a tip of the hat, as it were.
You tell Judy to come up here, and you stay with the kid, all right?
Yeah, stay with the kid. That'll be safe.
Yeah, I know.
We had a cadaver from which all four limbs had been
Yeah, Zoper says, yeah, it's nighttime in Pittsburgh, but broad daylight in Washington, D.C. That's a good point.
It occurred to me that footage could have been filmed earlier and only recently broadcast.
There you go.
That's, you know, they didn't have simulcast back then.
It's true.
I don't understand.
Or it could just be a glitch. Because again, later in a few minutes when they're in the pickup truck, there's one scene where it's broad daylight, and they don't even try to hide it.
I'll come back down as soon as I find out what they want. Thank you, Judy.
The body should be disposed of at once, preferably by cremation.
Well, how long after death, then, does the body become reactivated?
It's only a matter of minutes.
Minutes? Well, that doesn't give people time to make any arrangements.
Oh, you're right.
It doesn't give time people to make arrangements.
No, it doesn't. This is no time for sentimentality. There's an apocalypse going on.
Soak them with gasoline
Yep,
and
McKeesport.
burn them. The
The Reeve will have to forego the dubious comforts that a funeral service will
The
give.
dubious
But again,
comforts of a funeral.
Just dead flesh.
But all the things he says here are used almost verbatim. It's like the 3 laws of robotics.
Right.
It became part of
Yes.
the lore.
We need some bottles or jars. Make Molotov cocktails and hold them out while we try to escape.
Hey, there's a big can of kerosene down there.
How convenient.
I'll look for the bottles.
There's a big key ring down there.
Oh, and even when he's being helpful, he's going to be a not nice person.
Yeah, he's still got to be a jerk about it.
Cocktails
A mumser.
go upstairs. Meantime, a couple of us can go out and try to get the gas. You can come back for the rest of the people.
But that'll leave a door open someplace.
And isn't this plan kind of like needlessly
Gotta be this
complicated?
door.
Why
It
don't they
is.
just all get into the truck, and then when it's gassed up, you can just leave?
Hold up in there.
I mean, as it turns out, it's just well they didn't do it that
Yeah, because
way.
then they'd all blow up. Yeah.
But that being said, it would have been a better plan, apart from that
Abandoned.
glaring
I
of
can
it.
truck, no sweat.
Well, you know, it's hard to think reasonably in a situation.
You're it then. You and I'll go.
Valid. And again, while he's very intelligent, he's not exactly a strategist, so
Right.
Put
this
whatever
wouldn't be the
lumber
type of
we
thing
find
we
behind the
normally
cellar
do.
door. You can go upstairs and toss the cocktails.
I love it. You get to stay here. Oh, okay.
And he's like, I will completely trust you to open the door for me.
It's no good to board it up because we'll have to get back in quickly. After we get the gas and get back into the house, then we'll worry about getting
At what
everybody
point did
into
Mr.
the truck.
Cooper become trustworthy is what I can't figure.
Yeah, I know. He's putting a lot of faith in this guy, who has completely disagreed with everything he's ever said.
Indications are that before this emergency is over, we will
I'll go back to watching TV. That should help.
rescue stations.
Oh yeah, you'll be a lot of help.
You always have a smile for me. How can you smile like that all the time?
Stop smiling so
Come on,
much.
Dad. Come on.
4. I have 4. You're cutting sheets into strips.
All you get is a recorded message.
You should have a linen
I
cabinet
can
done
only
by
call
now.
the folks. They're going to be so
It's
worried
like 1
about
snip,
us.
2 snip.
Everything will be all right. As soon as we get to Willard, we'll call them. They might even be there.
I know.
I love the fact that he has to like try to comfort her. Like, oh, your parents, they'll probably already be there. No worries. It's like,
Are you sure we're doing the right thing, Tom?
What, about getting out of here?
Yeah.
Well, the television said that's the right thing to do.
The television said it was the right thing to do, so that's what we should do.
I don't know.
Come on.
well, the true hero in this movie is actually
Why do you have
TV.
to go out there?
TV is the only thing that knows what it's doing.
Can handle the
You know, and TV actually has like the right information and whatnot. I mean, the characters managed to jack everything up.
We're safe now.
That's a fair
But
point.
there's going to be more and more of those things.
I know all
I mean, Ben's still my favorite character, but well, let's face facts.
Listen,
He manages to get a lot of people killed.
when we had the big flood, remember how difficult it was for us to convince you that it was right to leave?
Yeah, Zuper says this feels like a soap opera
Remember we
moment.
had to go to Willard
Well, this whole scene was added because Judy
It's
didn't have a
not like
scene,
just a
Right.
wind passing through. We've got
and
to
it
do something.
doesn't particularly
Fast.
work, if you ask me.
Yeah, the scene doesn't serve any real purpose, honestly. If the idea was to give her more character, it doesn't work. She doesn't have any more character after it.
Smiley? Where's that big smile for me?
And now he
And
wants her to
Tom-
smile.
Yeah.
Your shoulder won't use it all, are you? We've got work to do. Honey.
If anything, I think it establishes how she is going to be Tom's Achilles heel. Because Tom
fair
has
point.
been very, very capable and competent up to this point, and what derails him. Now, that doesn't do much for the women's movement, but then again, this film didn't
This
really.
film, it's not a good film for that.
No.
We better get her downstairs.
To be fair, the male characters aren't much better.
Downstairs now, Wilbur.
She's right. You have to go downstairs now, just for a little while, until we get back. Then we can all leave.
Oh, I'd like to leave.
She's
she's
completely
surprisingly-
snapped.
But her lucidity comes in and out,
It does, yeah.
which is the weird thing. Like my grandmother's deafness. If you were screaming at her, she couldn't hear you, but she always managed to eavesdrop.
Good
I've had that, yeah.
My doctor says my hearing loss is selective because every time I test you, you're fine. But I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, those boards obviously aren't put in very well if you can just pry them out like that.
With his hand.
Yeah.
But he's bent. He can rip boards with his bare hands. Yeah, you really should lock her in at this point. Not trying to be mean, but she's kind of a loose cannon. She has just trouble written all over her.
There's that unblocked window again.
Yeah, but that's on the second floor.
Oh, okay.
What I couldn't figure out is why he's trying to be so dainty with the curtains. Why did he just rip the curtain rod down?
You ready upstairs?
I mean, the whole premise is he doesn't want to set fire to them while he's throwing the Molotov cocktails out the window.
That lit torch inside is just terrifying.
Well, they clearly did not get permits from the fire department to do this.
Oh,
by
no.
the way. They really played fast and loose.
Ah, Danny Staten is here. Hello, Danny.
Greetings. How you doing, Danny? Good to see you. Curse is fired again.
Go ahead, go on.
Yeah,
Close the door. Hey. It's my
Now the shirt's back on.
Oh, yeah.
And there's also the guy who gets shot in the chest twice earlier on.
Oh, yeah.
Get back in the cellar.
Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about.
Should have locked her in.
Yeah. And boom, deer in the headlights. All of a sudden, his competency
right.
drops by 50%. Yeah, watch. Boom, right through the chest. Have we not established that that doesn't help? You're wasting 22 rounds at this point.
Yeah, I think I'm still going to go with the theory that he's just a really bad shot.
Quite possibly. Although at that range... And definitely a Frankenstein influence with the hating of the fire and fire bad.
Super just said fire bad, yeah.
Yeah. It begs for it. It begs for
Totally.
it.
I just watched Bride of Frankenstein. I'm doing a video on it, so...
I was going to say you're picking which of the two is your favorite, and I can't wait to hear your...
That's going to get me in so much trouble. No matter which one I pick
it's-
will get me in trouble.
See, it's noon. You can even see the sun over the horizon there.
You're right.
And then it goes back to being dark. I'm like,
Well, you know, it's not as
Hey.
bad as, like, Plan 9 or anything.
well, and again, this is going to be a higher production.
Right.
You can find a film with no production value and make a slightly better production version of it.
Come on. This key won't work. Watch it.
Yeah, shoot
This-
the gas. That's a great idea. I mean, it
Well, shut
works.
the lock off.
Watch the dart.
Oops.
But the more unconstructed, yeah, I was going to say you start pouring the gas before you actually got it. You know, before safety
Gotta get away from the pump.
levers. But that was just panic. You know.
Yeah, this whole scene is just panic.
Yeah, there it is. I think the plan's going great. How do you?
Hang on.
Now this has to be the single dumbest thing he does.
Yeah, he can even see the fire raging, and he's still going. Oh, and Harold points out the truck has working headlamps again.
I never even thought of that. You're right. Very, very good. Well, the thing of it is, if it was just gas and it's been spilled on the side of the truck, wouldn't it have burned off by now?
Yeah, it wouldn't take that long, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not sterno, it's gasoline.
There had to have been something else, like, in the truck. Maybe fertilizer, apparently. Oh, my mom is speaking again. She's calling me a brat. There's that guy without a shirt. But the naked woman is gone.
They can only afford her for one scene.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind. It's one less thing to censor.
Another thing is, you notice he runs straight back to the house, even though all these shenanigans had pulled all the zombies away.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He should have run in a loop. There's an old Japanese saying, never run back to your house with a wolf at your heels.
I've never heard that. That's a good one.
Because all you're doing is you're bringing the wolf back to your children. You know. Yeah, he runs straight. If he'd run in a wide loop, he could have lost them. But again, he probably wasn't thinking clear at this point.
Cooper doesn't want to open the door.
But I kind of feel bad for him here. He's not doing it because he's being mean. He's terrified. He can't bring himself to open the door.
No, that makes sense. It does make sense.
Yeah. But again,
it's easy to think of him as Weasley because he's just so annoying, so easy to dislike.
But no, in that case, he was just terrified.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make Ben any less mad at him.
Yeah, Ben's reaction is perfectly logical as well. Perfectly understandable.
Yes. I gave you one job. One.
I really think that's on him, though. That's his fault.
He should have had Cooper drive the truck and Tom operate the door.
That would have solved a lot of problems.
It so would have. And here's that Foley artist I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Thwack. Thwack. It's a very satisfying noise, though.
It is. Ah, Keithy is here. Hello, Keith.
Keithy! Welcome to the party.
He's my newest Patreon.
When I finally do get my Patreon page, I'd like to think he'll be one of mine, too.
My very first was my mother. So.
Of course.
Because that makes sense. The truck is still burning. There's got to be something in the bed of the truck. Who knows?
And how did the zombies put two and two together? How did they realize there would still be people inside the truck? They must have some short-term memory.
Or maybe they can just smell it, roasting meat.
Ah, very good point. Good point. And this was the very controversial scene from 1968. You know, I was 1 year old when this movie came out.
Really?
I was born in the summer of '67.
I was about -10. Yeah, this is where it actually gets really grisly and disturbing. This is the part where I think a lot of kids are gonna lose it, like back then. Even now, it still seems pretty hardcore. And yes,
well, when they, yeah.
And yes, Sammy, you're right. It's ham covered in chocolate sauce. I mentioned that at the beginning, and it makes it even grosser. So sorry.
Yeah, and like 1985, when they started showing this on TV, they I remember the Night Flight showed it and gave warnings to people, like there were disturbing images in this movie. And now they're trying to work together again. Have we not established that that's not going to work? But again, codependent family. They keep trying.
There's supposed to be another broadcast at 3 o'clock.
10 minutes.
Oh, only 10 more minutes? We don't have very long to wait. We can leave. Well, we better leave soon. It's 10 minutes to 3.
It's almost beat poetry.
It is, actually.
You know anything about this area at all? I mean, is Willard the nearest town?
How many bullets did this old lady keep in her house? It's like the old joke, lady, what are you afraid of? Not a blanking thing.
Just trying to get to a motel before dark.
You say those things turned your car over. You think we can get it back on its wheels and drive it? Where is it?
Seems like it was.
And how many bullets does that gun hold?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. How many bullets is he going to put in that thing?
Forget it. It's at least a mile.
I love it. Now Cooper has the mouse under the eye. He didn't have it before after the fight, but now he
There's
does.
an army of things out there.
I can carry the kid. What's wrong with her? How'd she get hurt?
One of those things grabbed her.
Bit her on the arm.
What's wrong?
Who knows what kind of disease those things carry?
I love it.
Is she conscious?
Up until that moment, it had never occurred to anybody that the virus is transmitted by the biting.
Right.
He actually comes up with it before we actually
even see it happen to anybody. Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.
Johnny has the keys.
Dun dun dun. Theo, you're far more helpful and lucid.
No, but where is it?
Yeah, I know. Where are the keys?
Oh, there's the naked lady.
Oh, was Yeah, see, even when all this is happening, he thinks to turn the TV back on. The TV is our salvation.
Well, when there's like a emergency, that's kind of what people do. That's what I do. I turn on the TV.
Being monitored closely by scientists at all the radiation detection stations. At this hour, they report the level of the mysterious radiation continues to increase steadily. So long as this situation remains, government spokesman warned
Zuper was
that
trying to
dead
say
bodies
that Ben
will
is being
continue to be
incompetent, but
transformed
he accidentally
into the
typed
flesh-eating
incontinent.
All persons who die during this crisis, from whatever cause, will come back to life to seek human victims unless
Priceless.
their bodies are first disposed of.
I'm sure a lot of people would be incontinent during a zombie apocalypse.
I certainly
if you
would.
follow me.
Search and destroy operation against the ghouls. This one conducted
But yeah,
by
now
Sheriff
let's see.
John
Nicole
McClellan
is
in
talking
Butler County,
about how they all seem at least a little incompetent. And yeah, in an emergency, I think we all are. I think that's.
Well, there's
kinda
plenty of
realistic.
incompetence to go around.
Yeah.
destroy the marauding ghouls.
And then you got, the posse here.
Has disclosed that a
They're not
ghoul
exactly
can
100%
be
competent
killed
either.
by a shot in the
Spoiler
head
alert.
Yeah.
or a blow to the skull.
Although I have an observation about that, but again, we'll wait till it
Yeah,
actually comes
we'll
up.
wait till we get there.
Has been activated by the radiation. The plan is
When you watch them talk about these guys in a horror noir, they go, it's funny, all the white audiences say, oh, look, a rescue party. And the black audience all said, oh, look, a lynch mob.
Right.
And I'm like, when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, ooh, I can see that.
Oh, things aren't going too bad.
Especially with
And
the
this, of course,
southern
is-
accents,
You want to get on the other
Which is
side
funny
of the
because it's
road
Pennsylvania.
or what?
I know.
Chief, do you think he's able to defeat these things? Well, we
But
killed
the commentator here
right
is,
in
of
this
course,
area. Now, the last
Chili
three
Billy,
we caught
Bill
trying to walk
Carlisle,
away into
who
a
had his own
abandoned
horror
shed.
show
They must have thought
at this
somebody
time.
was in
Right,
there.
I
There
do
wasn't
remember
no-
reading that.
We heard him making all kind of noise. We came over and
His
beat him
daughter
up,
was in one of the
blasted
later
him down.
versions. I want to say Day of the Dead.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Chief, if I were surrounded by 6 or 8 of these things, would I stand a chance with them?
And
Well, there's
McClellan
no
now gives
problem.
us one
You
of
had
the
to come
most
shoot 'em in the head.
quoted
That's the
lines
way
in
to
the
kill 'em.
entire
You
movie.
don't get yourself
Shoot 'em in the
a club
head.
or a torch. Beat 'em or burn 'em. They go up pretty easy. Well, Chief McClellan, how long do you think it will take you until you get the situation under control? Well, that's pretty hard to say. We don't know how many of them there are. We know when we find them, we can kill them. Are they slow moving, Chief? Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up. Well, in time,
They're all messed up.
Well,
So, no, supposedly
we
that
don't
wasn't
really know.
scripted.
We know
He
we'll
couldn't
be
think of the
into
next
most
line,
of
so
the
he
night,
ad-libbed
probably
it.
into the early morning.
But it just worked so
We're
perfectly.
working our way
They left
toward
it in.
Willard, and we'll team up with a
Well,
national
again, it makes it
hero
feel
there.
more realistic because in a situation like that, people would have to ad lib what they're saying.
This is Bill Cardell,
And Zuper again points out it's daytime. Yeah.
Thank you, Bill, for that report. Official
Excellent
spokesman
point.
declined to speculate just how long it may take to kill off all the flesh eaters, so long as the heavy rain.
Yeah, see,
Now,
now they
when
call
the
them
grid-
flesh eaters. But, sorry.
I was just going to say, now the grid goes out, and I've always been like, how has it been holding up to this point in the first place?
Right.
It isn't the fuse.
But of course, it's always that very convenient loss of power. And of course, the first thing he does when Ben leaves the room is go back to plotting.
Right.
Haven't you?
Now he feels like he can take the control back.
Dead already on account of that guy. Take a look out that window. Click it.
Oh, nothing. I wasn't saying anything here.
Then go picking up rocks again.
Sticks and stones will break my bones.
That's that table leg that Ben was using.
Now he has no leg to stand on.
That's what I brought you in for, Thrash. I almost called you Tug. That doesn't even make sense.
Ugh, Junior. I don't know. Yeah, he's really single-minded to his "all I can keep them out" mentality, isn't he? It's
He
like,
is, yeah. And
It's like they're
Cooper's
hitting you
just
from
sitting
every.
there.
Ah, here's my opportunity to shine. Oh, you know you're still gonna blow it, but go ahead, try it.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You want to stay up here now? Helen, get this up.
Nicole says this movie works better in black and white than it would in color. And I agree.
It did. The 1990 remake in color didn't particularly work. I have had about enough of you. Yeah, they're literally just coming through the doors at this point. It's not even the boards that are stopping them. I love the melodrama of him being shot.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of westerns as a kid, so this is how you're supposed to act.
Very common. Yeah.
Acting!
Stumbling around.
In his defense, his last thought was to his child.
Which, yeah, that's noble.
Yeah, see, when she snaps out of it, she actually does something to try to help.
Right, she's doing something.
Such as it is.
And this time she grabs an actually useful piece of wood instead of the one she grabbed at the beginning.
Now, when Mrs. Cooper gets away, though, all she does is run away. And here we have possibly the grimmest scene in the whole flick.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about the bleak ending, but I feel like this scene's even bleaker.
It really is. And apparently it was done with a split screen. The little girl's stabbing into a pillow.
That makes sense.
So it's gonna be traumatizing. And just the fact that they mess with the volume, you'd think it would also make it comical. It doesn't. It makes it really sort of just chilling.
Yeah, all that echo and reverb.
Yeah. And again, borrowed right out of Hitchcock. You know.
Oh, totally.
I can rebuild. I can rebuild.
I can fix it. I can fix it.
Ben, put up the white flag. Just.
And this is when we finally get the payoff of Johnny.
Boom. But now you can get the keys off of him.
Oh, good point.
If only they had thought of that at that point. And this is actually where we find out that zombies have actually no association with their past life of any kind.
Right. He doesn't recognize her at all.
At all.
Connection's getting weird again. Sorry about that, folks.
And if you look closely, you can see how they modified the door so it bolts from the inside.
Right.
Because remember, the door pulled outward. But they
so yeah, they had to put
establishes that the boards were
right.
One thing is, how do they all know to go to the basement door? He did that before most of them had actually entered the building.
That's a good point, but maybe like they're just following one at a time.
The herd instinct.
Yeah.
Another thing, why is the basement so well lit?
That's a good point.
It doesn't even seem to have any windows. It'd be more fun the second time I take this guy down.
Just use all those bullets. Put them in there for a reason. You almost can hear that, like, War of the Worlds sound effect in the background.
Yeah. And of course, there's a scene in War of the Worlds where they hold up in a basement.
That's a good point. That house is even more wrecked than this one.
He's reflecting on how Cooper was right all along. His
Right.
mind can't take it.
I'm going to go back to Baked Beans questions. What is the best on-screen representation of a zombie?
Best on-screen representation of a zombie.
I don't know. I think I pretty much already answered it. I think it's The Walking Dead. Tom Savini's just really hard to beat it.
I'm going to go with Day of the Dead. I'm going to go with, well, first of all, Tom Savini did that one as well.
That's true.
It was amazing. But that's the one where they have Bob, the zombie who can be trained, and I always liked his depiction.
Oh, right.
So I'm going to go with that one. Oh, and of all three of the Romero universe zombie movies, there's always a helicopter. A helicopter is always germane to the plot.
Okay. Yeah.
More so than the other two, but even in this one. Oh, and I have to point this out while we have another minute. Now, Ben points out two things about zombies that are very important to know. One, they don't make any noise. They don't talk.
That's true, right?
And two, they well, actually that covers both, because in a little bit when he hears the mob in the background, they're firing guns, they're talking amongst each other, they have dogs, so clearly they're not a group of zombies,
right?
And if you want people to know you're not a zombie, what's the first thing you should do?
Speak.
Say something to them. Right. I am not a zombie.
About 4 or 5 men and a couple dogs.
Oh, you're bluffing. You are a zombie. Well, I'm a very good one because I don't speak.
You still here, Bill? Yeah, Chief. We're going to stay with it till we meet up with the National Guard. Where'd you get the coffee? One of the volunteers. You're doing all the work. You take it. Thank you. We should be.
Yeah. Now the sun being up is more appropriate.
Yeah. Now it makes sense because now that it's dawn. Yeah.
Nick, you and the rest of these men want to come with me?
Well, Bill, let's check in the office, see what's happening.
All right, Steve. Tell them we're going to stay with it, and everything appears to be under control.
Everything appears to be under control.
How do the dogs know to target zombies specifically?
That is a good question. Maybe it's just the smell of rotting flesh.
Let's go with that. I'll buy that. Perhaps you thought they were zombie dogs.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's before Resident Evil, so... I heard that zombies make great doctors and psychiatrists because they can't tell you or talk about your problems to anyone, says Keith.
I'll buy that.
Yeah?
They need you down there by the barn.
And yeah, Zuber, it is really hard to ignore the racial subtext now, when you've got this southern mob about to shoot a black man. Yeah.
But again, if you had said I'm not a zombie... Because remember, actually, and there's an earlier statement where he goes, we saw 3 of them clawing their way into an abandoned shed. Well, maybe the shed wasn't abandoned. Maybe you just shot the people that were in it, too.
And maybe they're just shooting indiscriminately, yeah.
Well, that's the implications they are. Because you have to wonder, I mean, they're shooting what they appear to be zombies. What if some other people are also just people who are in shock, who are just sort of wandering around with that sort of
right, like Barbara
stare?
Right. Like that guy. That guy totally could have been a human.
Yeah.
Get up here.
Or maybe he was deaf, so he couldn't hear you behind him.
Right.
Steve, you want to get out in that field and build me a bonfire?
They are an indiscriminate mob.
Yeah, nobody compliments mobs for their laser-like precision.
You, drag that out of here and throw it on the fire. Nothing down here. All right, go ahead down and give him a hand.
Let's go check out the house. There's something there. I heard a noise.
That zombie's got a gun.
I know.
Right, hit him in the head, right between the eyes.
That should have been a tip-off, yes.
Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
Another one for the fire.
And so ends the first in many zombie apocalypse films.
Yep, that is.
And again,
Night of the Living Dead. And again, sorry.
and yes, they certainly do appear to be a indiscriminate, well, lynch mob is what they
pretty much. Those meat hooks.
They just happen to have those lying around for such an emergency.
Well, that's it. You have any closing thoughts, Thrash?
Just that you cannot minimalize the impact this film has. That was really before it and after it when it came to the whole undead subgenre. And it remains to this day one of my favorite sci-fi horror films, although the opinion is still divided. Is it sci-fi or is it horror?
I'm going to say it's more horror than sci-fi. There's not really a lot of sci-fi to it. But
well, it depends.
I'm willing to fudge because I do that a lot on my channel. So, but you said it depends.
If it was, it depends. I mean, if they just sort of popped up because of some curse, then it's horror. But if it was an alien technology or some bioweapon that went awry, which created the zombies, then it would be science fiction.
Right.
So it walks the line, as it were. But yeah, I love this film. I really do. Always have.
I justify Last Man on Earth as being a science fiction movie just because Neville, although his name isn't Neville in that one, I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. Morgan. In that movie, his name's Morgan. He is approaching the vampires from a scientific perspective. He's trying to use the scientific method to understand them. So I think that qualifies it as science fiction. Whereas this one, it never really goes there. Like, it doesn't explain where it all started. It's just, boom, you're in the middle of a zombie outbreak.
So horror it is.
It is horror, in my opinion.
Deal.
Okay, let's see. Keithy also says that zombies would make great house guests because they don't complain and they eat anything you put in front of them, including yourself. Okay, and with that, I think I'm gonna call it a day. Goodbye, Nicole. Goodbye, Zuper. Goodbye, Keith. Goodbye, Donovan. Everybody else, Harold, Lance, if you're still here. Bean, I hoped we got to all your questions. I don't even remember. And yeah, we'll see you next time. I don't know what I'm going to do next month for Public Domain Theater. I'm open to suggestions, but I've got a couple of them laying around. I'll find something. But in December, I'm going to do Santa Claus Conquers the Martians because I just have to.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So until then, good night or good day, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you.
Good day for night.
Yes. And check out... Let's see. Next Sunday, I've got Bride of Frankenstein. That's my Halloween drop. And Thrash, what have you got going on?
Well, I recently opened up a Facebook channel. You're one of my first Facebook friends, so you can please join me there. But also on my channel, which I've been having a field day with little horror vignettes on for a nostalgia channel, horror specialty. I really sink my teeth into the October season. You can join me right on Thrashpondo Pons, right here on YouTube, and we can talk about vintage sci-fi and horror. I am this close to 200. I'm at like 197.
Ooh.
So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please, please, please do.
There's not a link right now, but I'll make sure to put one in the description on this video, like as soon as we're done here. Would
really appreciate it. And
yeah,
thank you all for joining. I had so much fun.
Yeah, me too. It was good talking to you. Love the trivia. There weren't enough puns. You needed more. I expect more next time.
You shall have more.
Okay. All right. Good night.